Okay, folks, hopefully we are live after a lot of technical difficulty. Hopefully, I am live. My audio is good. We have 26 people on and growing. Good stuff. We have the equity markets that are open. Hopefully, I do not have to reboot my computer. I try to avoid it, but it may have to. So please bear with me. Browsers are working now. Good stuff. Let's go to comments. We'll let the equity markets or the futures markets settle out here a little bit, and then we will get to work. Wow, look at all these comments. Ah, hello to Mr. Fabulous, Fabulous Bob. Thank you, thank you. It's 2024. Now you've set a peak. Now you've set a level for which that I don't know who's going to surpass that. So thank you for topping out my year, probably in January. Mike C., thank you very much. Good evening from the Pacific Northwest region near Gig Harbor, Washington State. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, again from Mike C., of course, my favorite scalping vehicle is NVIDIA, okay. AMD too, cool. Still a little bit of difficulty here. Clench, what do you guys think about this week? I'll leave it open to the audience, and I'll chime in. Mr. G, welcome from New York to LA. Franklin, welcome, brother. Bob must still be dining on his steak. No steak this week. Not that there's anything I would say. I did have red meat yesterday, but no steak this week. I am really battening down the hatches on eating healthy. Not that steak is not healthy. I shouldn't say that. This is a bad way of putting it. My bad. I'm eating different things. Lots of fish, lots of chicken. Diversifying a bit. I got to drop like 10 pounds. I'm back in the gym heavy now, but I'm so out of shape. It's ridiculous right now. Could the snowstorm cut out? Yeah, possibly. We don't have it too bad here. Hey, Jody. According to Bob's AI generated headline, we were all that was not AI generated. I did that, but my intelligence is artificial. So that I won't argue that. Must be shoved. Okay, so people still anticipating where I am. Trader Isaac. Yeah, well, they cut a deal. They cut a deal. Jeffrey, welcome. Thank you, Seymour Rivers. Thank you, Jeffrey. Appreciate it. Happy New Year, Dane. Many prayers, many blessings. As the communists, the woke left would hate for me to say, God bless and many prayers and blessings to your family. Why do weekends make me more? Because you can't touch it. You can't touch it. Denny, welcome. Michael, voice is perfect. Wow, that's competing with the other mic. Thank you. Larry, what if AI isn't a bubble? Then QQQ 600 is possible. Don't underweight tech in 2024. I've argued for a melt up. It's possible. Semis have broken out. I like semis. They're extended a little bit now, but semis are all-time highs. Not relative to the S&P performance. They're not above the NASDAQ 2000 highs, but in nominal terms, they are above the 2000 highs. Okay. So we have the futures open here. We opened up slightly higher, and we are off the highs. I can't believe we're already 15 minutes in. Let's take a look at the rut. The rut is up over 1/4 percentage point. A really good start here for the Russell 2000 going into the new trading week. Now we're up just shy of a third of a percent. We just popped. Now, the one I'm gonna really wanna be curious and looking at is, the Dow, which, of course, is down. This is gonna get weighed down by Boeing. So Boeing is gonna be a problem tomorrow. I put out a video earlier today about Boeing. Uh, I put it together quickly. You're probably gonna find a lot of, editing errors, but I had to get it out before this commentary, and, I think we're gonna see some weight on the Dow tomorrow. I think that this is a blip on the screen for Boeing. Yes, it'll probably be a bloodbath tomorrow, and for disclaimer purposes, I have a position. I don't wanna see it get hammered. I don't wanna see it skyrocket, and I don't wanna see it get hammered. I don't own the stock. I'm not short the stock. We have an options position in it, and we're pretty neutral on the trade. We just want it to I don't really want it to move at all. But that's not going to happen tomorrow. So I'm going to have to be doing a little bit of management early tomorrow, probably putting on some short positions, some short hedges. So the Dow down off of its lows. Let's take a look at the NQ, the NASDAQ 100 futures. Let's not scroll. Let's save time. And we are up spot 1.3%. So clearly the rut, the S&P 500, they're the shining stars this evening. Well, actually, the NASDAQ 100 is above the ES. At least it was. Let's check back in. So, yeah, I mean, everything's looking good with the exception of the Dow. That's all Boeing. That's all Boeing. So let's move on to the US dollar. So where do we close on on Friday? 102.39. We are up on the US dollar. We're up measurably on the dollar. I did not expect this, to be honest with you. That budget package came through, and this could be a blip on the screen. It could be short-lived, but man, are they going to blow out the budget? Republicans took control of the House. We have a new Speaker of the House because the other one was a rhino, and I've been suspecting this guy the entire time. And they're going to do it. They're going to go for broke here. They are going to dismantle this country with the way they're spending. And the dollar is shrugging it off at current. Let's check in with the volatility index. Vol is down, not responding. Let's check in with yields. Yields are up. Oofa. Yields are up over 4%. They closed, to be fair, they closed out the week above 4% on the 10-year on Friday. And I wonder whether or not that's the bond vigilante saying, hey, you're gonna spend money like this, you got to pay more, pal. You got to pay more for all that debt you're putting on because this is not going to end well. Nat gas continues on a tear. I mean, a brutal November, December, and late December, big bounce back, and January, really just a tear here. Looking at light sweet crude, we had a very strong day on Friday, and we're going to continuation move up. They initially gapped this down this evening, and now they are positive. That's a very bullish event. I want to take a look at a 4-hour chart. Yeah, they're trying to take it down. Okay. Looking at Gold is probably getting hammered right now. I'd be surprised were it not. It's actually up. With the dollar up, gold is up. That's a good tell. That's a very good tell. And that could be because what we're seeing in the energy complex is a rally, and that could be offsetting a bit of that dollar strength. Checking with silver. Silver flat. Oh, you know what? I want to go to copper. Copper. Let's go to a weekly chart here. You know, copper was showing a lot of strength only a couple of weeks ago. I remember talking about it. It looked as though we were getting ready for a breakout, but that breakout never happened. This was a nice setup, and that setup has failed. Checking in with agriculture. You know what? Before we go to ag, let's check in with Bitcoin. Bitcoin had a rough weekend, but it's consolidating. I mean, look at this. Bitcoin is so strong. Last week we broke out. So far this week, an inside week. Remember, Bitcoin's trades over the weekend. It never stops. Taking a look at agriculture. Soybeans getting walloped. This is last week's price action. Up at current on the pre-market, but the trend is clearly down. Wheat prices bouncing here. No breakout yet. It's consolidating. The longer the consolidation, the greater the validation of any breakout. What am I missing here? Corn. I don't look at the ag names enough to remember the symbols. Corn, very weak. So food prices coming in. What is live cattle doing? 2-week rally, but this is looking fairly weak. My bet is that this breaks lower. Take that, Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, all your fake meat. We eat meat here, real meat, no crickets. What else do we want here? Euro yen. So yen took it on the chin last week, where the euro had a little bit of a bounce back. We're not looking good here at current. The yen continues to remain weak. So early on in the week here, what we're looking at, strong U.S. dollar, weak yen, weak euro. Let's go to comments. William, welcome, my friend. TZ Burton, hey, welcome. Good info from Saturday's stream. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome, pal. Oh, that's the charts of the week, best stock charts. I did a lot of work this weekend. Okay. All right. Let's go to it. Let's talk about the new trading week. Economic data coming out this week. We have early on, not much really. Consumer credit, that's going to be through the roof. The only problem with consumer credit, I bet you that's not going to capture buy now, pay later. That's a bubble waiting to happen. Trade deficit. Nobody cares about trade deficit since 1987, the stock market crash. Wednesday, wholesale inventory, yawn. Fed head, no big deal. Thursday, CPI, Consumer Price Index. Watch it. Watch it. Very, very important. Friday, we get the PPI. That's the Producer Price Index. So that's the measure of inflation at the producer level. CPI is inflation at the consumer level. So we do have some market moving events. And keep in mind that next Monday, markets are closed. I believe the markets are closed, national holiday. So you may get some shenanigans in the market, a lot of short covering rally on Friday afternoon going into a long weekend. Nobody wants to be short. So I suspect that Friday is probably going to be, absent an event, a short covering rally day. And look at this, TrendSpider. I'm not going to click this, it costs them money. TrendSpider advertising. Okay, coming out this week, folks. It begins. Actually, no, I believe the Monday. Right. So, yeah, this is the beginning of. I just had. I just had. I'm not even a senior. Nowhere near it. Hardly even 35 yet. Wink, wink. I just had a senior moment. So on Friday, it all begins on Friday. We get the big banks coming out. JP Morgan Chase, very, very overbought. I'm probably going to put a trade on there into earnings, probably to the short side on JPM, only due to technicals. I have no idea about their quality of their business, trading revenues, etc. I don't really care about it. It's just overbought. UNH comes out, Delta comes out, B of A comes out, Wells Fargo, BlackRock, Darth Vader of all banks, Citigroup, Citibank, whatever they're calling themselves nowadays, Bank of New York Mellon. So the big money center banks are coming out this week. Buckle up. So it begins. So it's Alan. Welcome, brother. Welcome. Crude oil is super confusing. What's going on? Shouldn't the news be super bearish? Well, it depends. Really, if you take out going back 4 years, okay, if you take out the spike in 2021, February, winter of 2021, that spike up on the invasion of Ukraine, and you take out the bottom of COVID, where you had that, it went to zero, basically went to zero. Oil's been doing nothing, really, mostly in a downtrend. So I think oil's in a wait-and-see mode. Now, what you have going on, and I forgot to bring this up. Let me see if I can grab it quickly off of Zero Hedge. They think this is good news. Shut the government down. Shut it down. Watch. This is not a call to violence, FBI. I want to see what they allocated to Ukraine. They won't. Here we go. Someone funny. They don't give any numbers on Ukraine, no matter where I look. No numbers on Ukraine. Where is it? The Houthis. This is balls. I don't know whether or not it's true. Do I have this up here? Hopefully I do. I meant to have this up here. So I can't find the article. It was up here. Sometimes Zero Hedge changes the images and the headlines. But the Houthi rebels came out because we shot down a drone of theirs over the Red Sea. They come out and they say, yeah, we want the people that fired that missile at our drone, we want them to either A, be arrested or apologize, something like that. Really, really wild. So I don't think that this is done. I think that this is just beginning. So I'm telling you right now, if they target the Strait of Hormuz, That's where that narrow little passage, you have a vast amount of the world's energy passing through that passage. They shut that down. They do anything in that channel. Oil's going $150 overnight. It's just going to go, and we're going to be in recession right then and there. Stop at the conversation about will we go into, we're going to go into recession. It's a foregone conclusion. Global recession. But I think we need a catalyst to send oil up higher. And it could just be rate cuts. So I'm not ready to go to this yet. Not ready to go to it yet. Okay, so Schiller PE ratio, we're still shy of 32 on the Schiller PE ratio. The forward-looking guidance for EPS, I had this on Twitter, I should have it up here, has been ratcheted down. So where we were about 2 weeks ago on forward-looking guidance, we were above the 5 and 10-year moving averages. So now they're ratcheting down forward-looking guidance on EPS growth. That means more expensive now on a forward-looking basis. On a rearview mirror basis, we've been expensive for quite some time. So multiple expansion, I don't know. So whatever I could do to help shine a light. They say that sunlight's the best disinfectant, and usually sunlight makes the cockroaches go spreading. And there's no greater set of cockroaches of the Economic Forum and the thugs at the WHO. Now, there are bills in the parliaments, in the legislatures across the globe right now that will give the WHO, the World Health Organization, the authority at any time to claim that there is a pandemic or a health emergency, and they will have the authority over any of the signees to that agreement. I don't know if it's an agreement or a treaty. If it's an agreement, the president can agree to it, but the next president can back out of it. If it's a treaty, the Senate must agree to it and sign off on it to have teeth. So this could be signed off on in May. And part of their power would be the ability, because they hate podcasters. They thought they had the mainstream media in their pocket, which they did and still do. What they didn't have and they didn't expect was the power of the Joe Rogans of the world, the Russell Brands of the world, which is why they tried to silence them. So here's the insanity of these people. Out of their own, they don't even hide it. But most people are still asleep. They're still asleep. But my job is to bring it to your attention. You may be saying, you're logging in here. Listen, I logged in for the futures action. I'm logging in to hear about finance. Well, what happens when they bring in central bank digital currencies and you have no say over your finances anymore? This has everything to do with our finances. Everything to do with our finances. This is not Republican, Democrat. This is a coup d'etat, a global coup d'etat. Think it's hyperbolic? Think about it. Let's hear what the thug-in-chief has to say himself. And he's not a doctor, and he's leading the World Health Organization. And how wrong was he during the pandemic? Go.
Our food systems are harming the health of people and planet. Food systems contribute to over 30% of greenhouse gas emissions and account for almost 1/3 of the global burden of disease. Transforming food systems is therefore essential by shifting towards healthier, diversified, and more plant-based diets. If food systems delivered healthy diets for all, we could save 8 million lives per year. WHO is committed to supporting countries to develop and implement policies to improve diets and fight climate change. I'm therefore very pleased that
I want you to take note of how many cuts there are in this. Doing video editing, I automatically see the cuts in video. This thing has been edited. This simple video has been edited at least 6 times already.
Over 130 countries have signed the COP28 UAE Declaration on Climate and Health. Together, we can protect and promote the health of both people and planet. I thank you.
Okay, so the COP28 agreement, that's what they're talking about, is basically they don't want you eating meat because meat provides protein, it provides strength. They want you eating fake meat, plant-based chemicals. That's what they want you eating. And therefore, they control the food supply. If you take a look, the mainstream media will never talk about what's going on over in Germany, the Netherlands, France. You have farmers in the street, not just in the streets, they have tractors in downtown Berlin, in downtown France, in I think, well, the Dutch won. They have a new president there, a prime minister. I don't know what they have there. So maybe they've been saved. I don't know if that's fact yet. If anybody has any idea what's going on in the Netherlands, please let me know. Has it gotten better? Is it the same deal or what? I haven't heard anything. I got to do a little bit of research on that. But there is turmoil going on. And it's not just over there. The Amish farmers here in Pennsylvania, they're being raided by the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture because you have a Dutch farmer who's growing, not a Dutch farmer, an Amish farmer growing organic foods, meats, dairy, agriculture, and just giving it away to his neighbors. He's continuously getting raided by the Department of Agriculture. Why? Leave the guy alone. Leave the man alone. They won't do it. They want to get into the food supply. Control the food, control the people. It's since there's been history, that has been going on. That is what they're doing right here, right now. It's not Democrat, Republican. If you're thinking in those terms, you're not thinking right. It's the nationalists versus the globalists. And this guy is a globalist. So moving on. Here's RFK. I'm not a huge fan of RFK. JFK, not to a certain extent. I respected him. He was a war hero, but not a huge fan. I have a lot of disagreements with RFK, but I have a lot of agreements with him. So I want to give credit where credit is due. And when it comes down to military and pharmacological industrial complex, I'm on board with the guy. The guy's nailed it. That's why they hate him. So let's hear. This is kind of long, but I'm going to play as much of it as possible.
This is a war that should have never happened. It's a war the Russians tried repeatedly to settle on terms that were very, very beneficial to Ukraine and us. The major thing they wanted was for us to keep NATO out of the Ukraine. The big military contractors want to add new countries to NATO all the time. Why? Because then that country has to conform its military purchases to NATO weapon specifications, which means certain companies, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, General Dynamics, Boeing, and Lockheed, get a trapped market. In March of 2022, we committed $113 billion. Just to give you an example, we could have built a home for almost every homeless person in this country. We then committed another $24 billion since then, 2 months ago, and now President Biden is asking for another $60 billion. But the big expenses are going to come after the war, when we have to rebuild all the things that we destroyed. Mitch McConnell was asked, can we really afford to spend $113 billion to Ukraine? He said, don't worry, it's not really going to Ukraine.
It's going to American defense manufacturers.
So he just admitted it's a money laundering scheme. And who do you think owns every one of those companies? BlackRock. So Tim Scott, during the Republican debate, said, don't worry, it's not a gift to Ukraine, it's a loan. So raise your hand if you think that loan's ever getting paid back. Yeah, of course it's not. So why do they call it a loan? Because if they call it a loan, they can impose loan conditions. And what are the loan conditions that we impose on? Number one, an extreme austerity program, so that if you're poor in Ukraine, you're going to be poor forever. Number two, most important, Ukraine has to put all of its government-owned assets up for sale to multinational corporations, including all of its agricultural land, the biggest single asset in Europe. In Ukraine, there's been 1,000 years of war. fought over that land. It's the richest farmland in the world. It's the breadbasket of Europe. 500,000 kids almost, Ukrainian kids, have died to keep that land as part of Ukraine. They almost certainly didn't know about this loan condition. They've already sold 30% of it. The buyers were DuPont, Cargill, and Monsanto. Who do you think owns all of those companies? Yeah, BlackRock. And then in December, President Biden gave out the contract to rebuild Ukraine. And who do you think got that contract? BlackRock. So they're doing this right in front of us. They don't even care that we know anymore, because they know that they can get away with it. And how do they know that? Because they have a strategy. And that strategy is an old strategy, which is they keep us at war with each other. They keep us hating on each other. They keep the Republicans and Democrats fighting each other, and black against white, and all these divisions that they sow. If you like this video and you want to learn more.
So again, I don't agree with RFK on a lot of things, but everything on this video, I agree with him 1,000%. This is why I always say it's not a Republican or Democrat thing. I guarantee you, this video tonight, I'm going to lose subscribers. I'm not going to gain subscribers. I will lose subscribers, and that's okay. And the reason why I lose those subscribers is not because of the fact that I'm right on a stock or right on a call or wrong on a call. I think people give me a lot of latitude. It's that they're not seeing past the fight that they're immediately involved with, because it's all based upon emotion. I don't like the Republican next to me, or I don't like the Democrat next to me. We've got to move beyond that. Really got to move beyond it, because the walls are closing in. And the more that we do not shed the sunlight of disinfectant on these banks, on these pharma companies, and on our politicians, then we are doomed. We are all doomed. So please share this video out. I'll send the link. I mean,
About me.
again, I don't agree with him on everything, but we can have respectful disagreements and get along as Americans. So would I vote for him against Trump or against DeSantis? Probably not. However, I would like to see him part of an administration. Would I vote for him in lieu of Biden or another Democrat? Definitely. So this is not a Democrat-Republican thing. We need a big open tent as Americans to fight back on these globalists that are trying to take our freedoms away. And if nothing else, understand that that's the position that I'm coming from. And I guarantee I'm going to lose subscribers today. So help me gain subscribers. Like, subscribe. You know the deal. Leave a comment. Okay. Let's go to comments before we get into this. And then we'll talk about why I played that video in a moment, because there is a reason. What's your opinion on how CBD rollout will affect the markets? It'll be sold as another form of friendly crypto. It'll be friendly. It'll be efficient. It'll help you. And they're going to roll it out. It's going to be a very, very soft velvet glove approach. Much like initially the COVID shots were, where you had my dopey mayor in New York City sitting there with a hamburger and fries from Shake Shack. If you get your vaccination today, you're going to get a burger and some fries, and it's going to be a really soft glove approach. Then as people start pushing back, as the acceptance of CBDCs becomes more accepted, more palatable, then the gloves are going to come off. Then they're going to institute their power. They're going to take control. All they need are two things. They need two things. One, a digital ID. You got to have that. Connect that with your digital wallet. You're done. You are done. If you have cash, maybe you could still do business. Bitcoin, if you have a cold storage wallet, gold, silver. There's going to be a new black market of barter that opens up. That you can be guaranteed of. The black market, I don't know how I'm going to make money in that market, because I don't have many skills beyond trading and athletics sometimes. But those that have services to offer, carpenters, painters, electricians, they're going to do quite well for themselves. They're going to do very, very well. Perhaps not in legal tender, but in services owed, they're going to do quite well. So there will be a new black market system that opens up. I'm interested in seeing how other countries are adopting to CBDCs. I mean, Nigeria adopted it, and then they had to get rid of it. So whether or not it's a tactical retreat and they're going to go back in with it, I'm not quite sure. But watch out. They tried to do vaccine passports. That was a digital ID. They tried to get it. They failed, but they're going to come again. They learn from, they attack. They learn. These are not dumb people. The politicians are dumb. They're puppets. The guys at the top, the bankers, they're not dumb. I think that ultimately their plan is short-sighted. They want power. But here's what I don't get is, let's say you're Boeing and you're sitting on the World Economic Forum and you're all for the one world digital view of how we need to live. And everybody's got to be the same. There needs to be a homogeneous society, 15-minute cities. We have to limit travel. So the question I have is, who's going to take the trip on the Boeing jet over to Europe? Is it all going to be military? Are we going to be constantly at war? Constantly? Who's going to take Disney's on the World Economic Forum board. Who's going to go to Disney if you can't leave your 15-minute city? At GM, Ford, these other woke companies, who's going to buy your car if I don't need a car in a 15-minute city? So all of this in the end is really anti-capitalist. So I'm not sure what the end game is here for them, with the exception of the fact that they want to play God. These billionaires have a God complex and they're narcissists, and they won't stop until they get what they want. So in the end, will it fail? Yeah, I'll probably be dead, but I don't think it's going to succeed. I just don't think it will. Need to watch The Great Taking by David Webb. You are bang on. They have engineered take. Yeah, this has been going on. I'll probably play it next Thursday. There's a guy, he's passed away now, but I used to listen to him. He only passed away a few years ago. His name was Paul Harvey. Paul Harvey. You can look it up if you want. And it's on YouTube. I just type in "If I Were the Devil." This is in 1967. And every time I listen to it, I get the chills. I'll play it on Thursday night. Join in Thursday night. Hit the notification bell, ding, 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 ding. And I'll play it on Thursday night. It's about the same length as the JFK tape tonight. But he nailed it. Everything that you're seeing right here, right now, he forecasted in 1967. Russia knows it's not really getting warmer. They think it's getting colder, needs to be good. So, yeah. They have no evidence that there's climate change. They have none. They choose a point in time that they say, okay, temperatures are rising, therefore we need to act. But they choose that point in time because it's convenient to them. Temperatures and CO2 levels have been far higher in the past. Yet they choose this snapshot in time because it suits their narrative. And what they want most is to shut people like me, and I'm a small guy, Rogan, they want to shut him up, Russell Brand, they want to shut these guys up badly because that's a bypass away from the mainstream propagandas. Yeah, that's the new war. You finish with one, you roll into the other. We need more people like you, Bob, that care about the country more than there's. Yeah, and I would love to have a channel that was gangbusters, but I'm not selling out. I'm good. I'm good. I don't need 20,000 views. I don't need that to get my rocks off. I don't need it. Hey, Pat, hope Europe was great. Glad you're back. Did I talk about BA? I did a video on it earlier today. I'll touch upon it a little bit again, but I did a 25-minute video early in the day. It's on YouTube if you want to check it out. Agree with the trade rise, 100%. Thanks, Denny. Thank you. 0 trades this year, went to cash last year. Okay, that's unlike you. You're usually active. Talent, Paul Harvey's outstanding. Outstanding. Christians are the new calendar. Yeah, right. Go figure. Mr. G, got to go enjoy that steak, pal. Enjoy it. Okay. All right, let's move on. So the reason why I played that JFK tape, first, I thought it was outstanding. Second is they passed a deal. I don't trust this guy yet. I just don't trust him. He's not a warrior. I'm not getting the warrior sense. He should have shut down the government. So what I wanted to show you is this. The budget includes $886 billion for defense spending that lawmakers already agreed to last month and $773 billion in non-defense spending. Johnson told the Republicans in a letter Sunday they would advocate for key modifications and important policy riders to the agreement, including revoking $6.1 billion in unused pandemic funds and cutting $10 billion in new funding for the IRS. So a partial win there, assuming that they don't do one of these numbers where they take back something, all of a sudden it gets slid in somewhere else. So we don't have all the fine print yet. And a $1.7 trillion budget, that fine print is going to be about this high. So this is what's most important to me, really, is that they need to close down that goddamn border. I was challenged on Twitter it was a nice enough guy. It wasn't rude at all. I posted something back about Bidenomics being a grift. And he replied back, what's the difference between him and Trump? I said, I'm not going to carry water for anybody. I didn't agree with Trump and his hammering away at Powell to cut rates. He raised taxes on the blue states dramatically. I can only cut. I used to be able to write off all the interest payments and tax payments I wanted. That's limited now. I got a tax increase under Trump. That being said, there's a lot I like about it. And what I replied back to him was, he talked about the debt being driven up. And I said, you know what? The only way that we're going to grow the only way we're going to get out of this debt is much the way we did post World War II. We've been in this scenario before. After World War II, we had a debt to GDP ratio of way in excess of 100% of GDP. The difference was back then, we were a manufacturing nation. We were a net creditor. Today, we are a services / finance-based economy. We've offshored our manufacturing. Trump was going to bring back that manufacturing. To a certain extent, he succeeded in semiconductor manufacturing, but not enough. So the main difference is that where Trump shut down the border, was ready to cut jobs, cut government size, Biden imported millions of welfare recipients with really no talent whatsoever, except to grift off the state and local municipalities. Also, he blew out the economy by sending out trillions in stimmy checks. What did that do? Stoked inflation. So not only do we have to pay that debt back, the cost of goods, the cost of services are now higher for everyone. So this legacy under Biden is going to live on for generations. Now, I'm not saying that Trump helped it all that much, but he certainly didn't throw fuel on the fire. That's what Biden did. We need growth, GDP growth, and we need smaller government. We don't cut the size of government. We're done. And this budget does not cut the size of government. If it did, we wouldn't need $1.7 trillion. So we have a new budget. So here's the projection going out to 2050. Social Security is flatlined. Healthcare flatlined. What's going to keep going up? Everything else. Everything else. Bailing out governments overseas, wars, net interest payments are going to be by 2050 about 20% of our GDP. Think about that. Think about that. That's basically 20% of every dollar earned is going to go overseas for a debt payment. And they're good with this. They're good with this. It's a tragedy. It's an absolute tragedy. Now, I'm surprised that the market is not weaker right now because this came out late this morning. CalSTRS, I should say, CalSTRS. CalSTRS is a huge, huge pension fund out of California. Pension fund crisis. This has been going on for over 10 years now. Not just CalSTRS and CalPERS, but most major pension funds in this country are underfunded, and they're even more underfunded due to the fact that you have, for a decade, interest at near zero. So they weren't making money on their treasuries. Now, CalSTRS seeks $30 billion in leverage amid CRE turmoil. So this has got the potential to become another ticking time bomb that is just coming public now. And I'm very surprised with Boeing in the news and with CalSTRS in the news that we are not seeing more of a reaction in the equity market. I'll send this out. Now, Jeff Snyder is a very, very smart guy. I consider myself to be smart, but I have a hard time keeping up with him. So I'll let you read this on your own. But in short, according to Jeff Snyder, we have a lot of turmoil in the debt markets right now, and it should be very, very concerning, which could be the reason why we're seeing interest rates begin to tick back up. And the banks are still in trouble. Unrealized losses now account for 33% of all bank equity capital in the U.S. Currently, banks are sitting on nearly $700 billion in unrealized losses. To put this into perspective, even at the worst point of 2008, unrealized losses only accounted for 5% of equity capital. Prior to the regional bank crisis, this percentage was improving at 22%. I think those are negative signs. However, since the crisis, we have been rapidly rising unrealized losses, a trend worth watching. And here's the chart. A bloodbath. And that is a negative. These are all negatives. So a lot of these banks, and every Thursday when we go live, I show you the update because it gets released every Thursday afternoon, the lifeline that the Federal Reserve throws to the banks every single week. And they began that lifeline back in March, and every single month since then, it's gone like this. It hasn't gotten better. They're covering it up. They're cutting rates. They're going to have to save the banks. As most real estate deals are heavily leveraged, 40% price drops mean the entire equity, and in many cases, even more, has been wiped out. Who is sitting on these losses? This is not residential. This is U.S. office space. I mean, this is on par with 2008, 2009. Except back then, you did not have Zoom. You did not have work from home. So people were going to go back to the office when business started picking up. I don't know what's going to happen here. I think they're going to have to convert these office spaces into residential. yield curve inversion. We'll go into this a little bit more in a moment. The yield curve inversion, this is a different metric than what I use. This is a 10-year versus a 3-month treasury. And I use the 10-year versus 2-year. And we are at levels. We've been down here before. I don't want to be hyperbolic and say, go selling stocks tomorrow. We've been here before. So we are very inverted. We've been worse back in the early 80s. That was during the inflationary times. Before that, 1971, around there, that was when Nixon took us off the gold standard. And before that, 1928, we all know what happens after that. Poof. Inversion of the yield curve. And then we had the steepening and the boom, and then you had the Great Depression. So I don't make this stuff up. It's reality. And when you take a look at the yield curve on a monthly chart, this is 2s versus 10s. Actually, this is a weekly chart. We were negative as of last Thursday. And I said, as I do every Thursday night, one trading day can make a difference. We were negative by 7 bips on Thursday night. By Friday afternoon, we were on the week. Now, when you take a look at it on a monthly view, bullish key reversal. If you're new to technical analysis, you don't know what that is. It's one of my top 5 favorite candlestick patterns. 5-part video tutorial below. Take advantage of it, free of charge. So the yield curve, I always say that you need to get worried about the yield curve when it begins to unsteepen. And at current, we peaked out back in August, went into a consolidation, bottoming tail in December, bullish key reversal. We still have a lot of time left to go in this month. And it looks as though we could quite possibly break out. What do I have here? Not much else. Let's see what else is new on the news. If anything new hitting the tape. New Hampshire passes bill banning general. Thank God. Finally, a little bit of sanity in this world. Let's go to comments. Okay, we'll go there right now. One-minute chart. Okay. Well, you don't want to put too much weight on a 1-minute chart. It's bullish, but this is, I'm not a day trader, so it's bullish. Yeah, it looks good. But don't too much. We're going to focus more on a bare minimum 4-hour charts. And this is looking actually pretty good. Your Stokes are building up higher. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see a rally. But remember, daily stochastics. Let's touch upon that for a moment. Daily stochastics, if I could ever figure out how to get a daily chart up, are oversold, but they could stay oversold. All right, so just be careful here. I think we can rally up higher. We may get some backing and filling this week. Let's check in with the Dow, see what that's doing, because that should make for an interesting week. I always forget the Dow's. Here it is. YM. Not horrific. We're not seeing a lot of momentum behind this selling at current. In the end, I think that, Boeing is going to have a rough day, if not a rough week. I think this time next week, it's going to be off the headlines, and it'll be a lot to do about nothing. So, Pat asked about the Boeing trade, and I have what you call an iron condor. It's basically a neutral bet, cash flow strategy. I'll probably get challenged tomorrow on the put side of that strangle, but the good part is I have an insurance policy on it. So that doesn't mean I'm not qualified to take a loss. I could take a loss, but I can manage that trade, roll it out, and avoid that loss as long as I want to weather the storm. The key is, the only thing that we really have when you're trading stocks is is control over, let me reduce this mute. The only way to prevent a big loss is to stay small in any one individual trade. Now, if I dedicated all of my capital to any one trade, or if I dedicated all of my capital to being 100% in cash flow strategies, well, what do you do when a trade goes against you, which inevitably it's going to do? You need to have your capital reserves, your dry gunpowder out there to help keep you solvent. If you don't have that dry gunpowder, liquidity is just a bad headline away, or illiquidity, I should say. So just be careful. If you're in Boeing for an investment, I can't give investment advice, but I can certainly say that I would not be a seller if I'm a long-term investor. I would take advantage of the blip on the screen, take advantage of it, and begin to buy. The institutions have been buying for the past couple of months. Look at the chart. So their EPS growth is improving. They're still negative. They're not paying a dividend. But as their revenues grow and their EPS strengthens, then you're going to have good news on the horizon. But it's a waiting game. Yeah, I listened to his last podcast on the Eurodollar system. And so basically what I draw from it is this. I don't need to understand it. I just need to understand that there's something wrong in the force and that you need to be ready for it. So be hedged. Be hedged. I think you meant not, right? Yeah, not in BA. Yeah. I think that I wouldn't be a buyer tomorrow. I would think about selling puts tomorrow. And I might do that, roll out my puts and into a longer dated trade, because they do have earnings coming out soon. But initially when I saw the headline, I was taken aback by it. You get that. It's just like if you have a trade on during earnings season, that trade goes against you. You're going to be in for a wallop the next morning. I had the same feeling. I call it the incredible sinking feeling. And after I did my research on past performance of the stock after bad news events, and much worse than what we saw on Friday, and thank God nobody got seriously injured. This is nothing compared to that. That being said, that does not mean that Boeing is not going to have a rough term, a volatile week. It's going to have it. So buckle up. I'm not trying to dismiss that whatsoever. It is going to have a bloodbath of a morning. This time next week, we'll see where it's at. All right, folks. Everybody have an awesome, profitable trading week. Thanks for being here. Like, subscribe. You know the deal. And thank you for being here. Be well.